Hi. So thanks for having me here. Yeah, it's good to be here. You know, a couple of people already said it, but I have to say it. I mean, cliched as it may sound, and I'm supposed to be a little more energetic than I am today. Okay, but I think I have to say it outright. And first and foremost, I love my job. Okay, and the next slide will kind of tell you who I am, and then I'll also give you an example of why I love my job. And so I'm a chemical engineer by training. I work in the biotech industry. I lead the research products group for GE Healthcare Life Sciences in India. And I have a few degrees and a little bit of an experience attached to it. But I also came back home last night at 10:30 and then spent about an hour, hour and a half deciding what I'm going to say here today. One of the resolutions I made to myself on the 1st of January this year was that, you know, when you go to someone and say, okay, can you make a presentation on da-da-da, right? And immediately they say, I have a PPT file, I can make a presentation, right? So I decided that PPTs are not presentations. Okay, PPTs are PPTs, presentations are presentations, right? So I decided every time I make a presentation, I'm going to make new slides, and I get out a new story out there. So in that spirit, I spent about an hour and a half getting this story right and some slides through. And then after that, if you are a chemical engineer, okay, which means you are already a cat among pigeons working in the biotech industry, right? And then you spent about 2.5 to 3 hours from 12:30 in the night till it was about 2:30 or 3, trying to tell a customer of yours how he can use some of your technologies to study the role of, and this is where it really gets difficult for me, the role of microtubules in and this is really difficult, megakaryocytopoiesis. Okay? Now, if you can do that from 1 o'clock to 3:30 in the morning, despite being a chemical engineer, you must love your job, right? So that's the proof that I offer that I love my job, okay? I do. Okay. Now, I come from GE Healthcare, and GE is a well-known company. You know that. We're reasonably proud of who we are, founded by Thomas Alva Edison. Obviously, the cornerstone of innovation. You know, when you see a comic strip and when someone has a brilliant idea, what do they have? And we made the bulb, right? So we're kind of reasonably proud of who we are. Arrogant as it may look, you know, that's who we are, right? And also a lot of history to it and stuff like that. But who we are today is something very interesting. We are in energy, we're in healthcare, we're in aviation, not having fun these days, aviation are we, but still, and we're in transportation, we're in capital. GE Capital is a big thing. When I first moved back to India, and I tell people, especially in Noida and Gurgaon, that I worked for GE, acha, GE Capital, right? Because that became the signature thing for GE. And we're also in home and business solutions and in media. Whether you know it or not, you're all customers of GE. If you watched Godzilla, or if you watched any movie made by Universal Studios, if you watched an NBC show like Friends or Frasier, Seinfeld, you're already customers. If you watch CNBC, some of you serious business-minded types, that I would think would be tough to find at NCBS, but you would still be, you are all already GE's customers in some way, shape, or form, right? And then GE Healthcare itself is a very large franchise within GE. We're about a $17 billion enterprise, about 53,000 employees, more than $1 billion spent in R&D. A lot of that money actually coming to India, being spent in India. Ooh, not just India, in Bangalore, about 20, 30 kilometers away from here. A significant amount of this R&D money is being spent. And guess what? We have 5 global research centers. But the John F. Welch Technology Center is already the largest R&D center for GE across the world. We employ largely PhDs and some disgruntled dropouts like me. Okay, so the first speaker, what a great start, Shyam. He gets up and says, was it you who said, you've shown the grit and determination? No, you said it in the introduction. In the very welcome address, he said, you've shown it that you can actually, you have the grit and determination to stay put, stand there, get through, do your PhD, and you know what, even get a postdoc thing happening and then come out. I didn't have it, okay, I dropped out. When they ask me in interviews these days, I tell people that, you know, I had creative differences with my guide. That's the way I put it. Okay, but I did. Okay, but we have people with a lot of grit and determination who actually work out here, and we bring out about 1,200 patents last year, the largest number of patents out of any research center, right? And then within healthcare also there's multiple things happening. I represent the life sciences piece here. Life sciences was recently merged with medical diagnostics, so it's a large piece. We do about $100 million worth of business in India. Lot of product development happening, lots of stuff happening. Life sciences, you know us. A lot of people must be using something from GE Healthcare Life Sciences, I hope, right? But you know us, right? And we do a lot of products in the cell biology space, in proteomics, in protein purification, in protein interaction analysis, if you used a microcal or a BioCore, or if you used a scanner, if you used a gel documentation system, lots of stuff that comes out of our labs. But again, right, aligning yourself with something, some cause that is larger than yourself, something that's bigger than yourself. I don't think, and I'm not disagreeing with the fact that there's large causes, but it is fun being a cog in the wheel. Okay, I get up in the morning and say, I'm a very happy cog. Okay, I'm a very happy cog. I'm not getting up in the morning and curing cancer. I'm not. But guess what? I'm pushing it forward. You know what? I'm doing my bit. You know, I'm not going to get up and get those stem cells out. I'm not going to do that. But you know what? If there's someone out there in India who wants to do that, I'm doing my bit. I'm pushing it forward because it makes these are huge problems, right? These are big problems. I mean, look at the environment that we live in. And seriously, for a moment, pause. Look to your right and look to your left, because one of you three guys is going to have cancer. Okay? And you know, we laugh at it. But seriously, look to your left, look to your right, one of you guys is going to have cancer. It's inevitably the truth, right? And this you know, just yesterday I heard about a case of a friend of mine who is about 48 years old or something, and has suddenly been diagnosed with a debilitating condition. Not to get into details. And suddenly then, you know, this whole philosophical question of why? How come is this happening with all the medical development? And suddenly I made one very philosophical statement like, you know, I think we are increasing the lifespan, but are we becoming a more fragile kind of a population? Are we becoming more fragile? Right? 1 in 3 will get cancer. 1 person dies from CVD every 33 seconds. You know what that means? That means that by the time I would have finished this talk, 40 people's Atma would have reached Paramatma. Straight. Gone. I mean, that's serious business. That's serious stuff. And then 1 in 8 people over 65 already have Alzheimer's. And they don't know it, obviously, right? And not to joke about it, but they obviously don't know it, right? My grandmother, as she would get old, would be like, she's just getting old. You know how old people are. Half of that, you know how old people are, is Alzheimer's. Seriously. Half of that you characterize as typical of old age is probably Alzheimer's happening already. These are serious problems. Now, how can GE help? And I'll say, how can GE help? Because that's the way I view the world, right? I view the world from a very tiny, tiny place where I work. And I say, how can we help? And here's, I think, the key to what we are looking at. So if you have ideas, right? So it'd be very wrong to come to a career day and say, you know what, guys? Actually, I don't have any jobs to give you. But you go ahead and become entrepreneurs, something like that. A very wrong message to give, but get the point here. The subtle point here is that GE's technologies and what GE is looking for right now are built around health imagination, which is about 3 things: cost, quality, and access. Okay? In healthcare, we're looking at cost, quality, and access. If you can improve the quality of healthcare of people, if you have an idea, if you can yourself improve it, or if you have an idea that improves the quality of healthcare, that reduces cost, and that increases access to healthcare to people, then that's an idea that GE is interested in pursuing. And if you are a person who is full of ideas that qualify in these 3 parameters, then you are a person who is ready to work for GE today. You know, if Infosys increased its business tenfold, right, they would actually need to hire 10x more software engineers, right? And if a pharmaceutical company or a biopharmaceutical company because we're in the biotech space, decided to increase their production tenfold. I have technologies that will help them cut a few staff. Actually, since you're producing more, I'll give you a better automated technological solution. So, while it is important that the biotech industry grows, okay, it's not necessarily directly related to the job growth, right? So, we need startups, we need entrepreneurs, I need more customers, right? But even when you work for a company within GE, you have no idea the number of times I put an entrepreneurial hat, go and pitch an idea and try to make people within my own company buy this idea and convince them that this is a good idea to pursue, that there's a business case around this. So even in that sense, I think a little bit of that would really help. Guys, GE Healthcare Life Sciences, what you know today as GE Healthcare Life Sciences is a multiple number of companies. Some of you people know as Pharmacia, some of you as Amersham, Wattman, Biocor, Microcal, LKB, Applied Precision, Accelerex, PAA, Hyclone. I don't know how many of you know because that's kind of recent, hot off the press kind of news. Hyclone is now GE Healthcare Life Sciences, right? So, a lot of arenas in which we work and a lot of things that we do. This is our campus, the Global Research Center at Bangalore, and we have a big, huge biosciences, life sciences lab. And but this is what we are trying to do in India. Okay, so you can have it good, fast, or cheap. Okay, but pick any two. You can't have all three together. You can have it good and fast, but not cheap. You can have fast and cheap, but not good. You can have good and cheap, but not fast. So technologies, in that sense, we're looking at indigenization of ideas. We're looking at innovation. We're looking at improvisation. Again, I go back to the same story of Tata Nano, which I was telling you in the beginning of the day. Simple thing. And Tata Nano, I'm not a huge fan of Tata Nano. When I tell people about innovation in my lab, I tell them do anything, but don't get as a Tata Nano. Okay, please. In fact, if you have to kind of pursue this whole case of cars and new cars and kind of take this story forward, I tell them, give me an XUV, a Mahindra XUV. Don't give me a Tata Nano. You know why? A Mahindra XUV looks like $1 million. Let's admit it. Makes you feel good, but doesn't cost $1 million. Okay? A Tata Nano is cheap, and pardon me for saying this, looks cheap. Okay? So I want something that works. Okay? And so innovation is a little bit about new ideas, new science, and new technology, but it's also about being smart. A lot of college students come into my lab, right? Especially the IIT types. Okay? Come into my labs, they get selected through a reasonably rigorous process. We know that reasonably smart people, right? But they came through this process. And I kind of blurred it a little bit. Okay, I didn't take the high-res image. But it's a question paper. Okay, the typical question paper that you receive when you did your degrees and stuff like that. So the first day they come in, they sit in the morning and ask me. Ask me anything you want. In fact, they came through the interview also like that because they know everything, don't they? Ask me a question, I have an answer. I'm like, you know what? I don't have any questions. And if I have some serious questions, okay, I have a great solution. It's called www.google.com. I don't need you for answers. Now, what do I need you for? I need you to sit here and ask some smart questions. Questions that we didn't think of asking ever. Right? And the guys who went to Akash Institute types, okay, go crazy. They're like, what are you saying? I don't know, right? Okay, so I want smart people. Okay, in my labs, I want smart people who ask the smart questions, because the data is all out there. I want some people who can ask smart questions and mine the data and get me answers questions that I never thought of before. And it's always about what you look at that matters, right? And I know that there are people from Biocon here, there's people from ICGB here. We try to I'll give you a simple example of where I need smart people, okay? I want to sell a gel dock instrument, right? A gel dock instrument or a scanner to a customer, right? Now I go to Dr. Shahid. You are a user of my machine, right? So I want, not anymore. Not anymore, but you were, and we sold one to you, right? Now my salesperson would go to him and they'd say, sir, I have a great scanner, sir. And so the customer says, what scanner do you have? Sir, I have this Typhoon, okay? So tell me something about this Typhoon. Sir, you want something about it? Here you go. This is the Typhoon for you. Okay? It's got confocal optics, it can do 10 micron pixel resolution, it can do no. Now, while this is all great technology, right? The customer is not necessarily buying twin PMTs where one is cooled, okay? The customer isn't buying that, okay? Now, I know that a very intelligent optical guy and a very intelligent electronics guy and a great biologist, all of these guys got together and put this great scanner together. But then it's important to have intelligent people who connect this for me to what the customer wants. So we reverse the thing. These are called specs or attributes, right, of any instrument. We said, let's reverse this, and I'll quickly show you why we need smart people. And these smart people could or could not be PhDs, but they need to be smart people. So we said, you know what? Customer is not buying twin PMTs, where one is cooled from us. He's buying this because he wants confidence, he wants versatility, he wants convenience. So we want some people who can build values into our products. And when will a customer feel confident? If he can actually detect the lowest signal, or if he can measure minute differences between two signals, stuff like that, right? And then we said, this is how you build a value proposition, guys. So you will get confidence because you have sensitivity, and you get sensitivity because of those long list of specs. So how do we turn this whole story around so that we actually present to the customer what the customer wants? A very simple example of where we need smart people who understand science, but also who understand how commercial processes and market processes work. Just a simple example of that, and then same thing happens for versatility, and same thing happens for convenience, and blah, blah, blah. So that's what it is. And I want people who are detail-oriented, right? And there's no better example than detail-oriented than that whole video, or some of you might have seen pictures of Feynman explaining how that O-ring failed on the Challenger thing. That little minute detail, I want people who are detail-oriented. I see people who miss detail so regularly on a daily basis that it bugs the hell out of me that people are not detail-oriented. And it just, and you know what? They make big boo-boos, like do you know this? Do you know what this is? The Hubble Telescope, right? The Hubble Telescope's initial pictures look like this. Yeah, because they didn't take into consideration the fact that there would be a little bit of an expansion in the lens because of higher temperatures. And then, so Hubble Telescope actually has a pair of glasses on right now. You know that, right? And one of our competitors, Perkin-Elmer, at that point in time was contracted to actually do this, and then they became like this. So sometimes rework, so please be ready for rework. And you're good at rework because you're PhDs, right? Rework is routine. But sometimes it's important to kind of have the arrogance about what you do, you know, and this is a great statement, you know, if you want to build a Porsche, I didn't find a dream car that I wanted, so I went and out and built one myself. GE's perspective on things is not just about discovering solutions to problems, but industrializing those solutions. And that's why when you took the example of stem cells, I'm excited. You know why? Because it's great. You know, if it works in a petri dish or in an Eppendorf tube, it's a great thing, but can you, so how many people, you suppose you have an effective treatment protocol using cardiomyocytes for patients who suffer from some kind of heart attack, right? If you take Bangalore alone, how many heart attacks in Bangalore would happen in a day? I'm thinking close to about 50 to 100 in a week, about 700. If you took 6 or 7 cities in and around in Karnataka, you're talking about 1,200, 2,000 patients. If you take the whole country, you're talking about per week treating how many people? You're talking close to treating about 50,000 people with cardiomyocytes, right? Now, great, congratulations, you actually differentiated your human embryonic stem cells, and you can make cardiomyocytes that actually can be used in treatment. How do you industrialize this thing? I think that when it comes to industrialization of technologies, that's where GE's strength is. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at. So anything that you're thinking where you're thinking scale up, that's where we're very excited. So industrializing stem cells is something that we're definitely working on. But as an example of how your thought process should work, that you should not just think but also think scale, right? The other thing that really excites me with one of the products that we have right now, which is the socially conscious kind of a product to have, is that there's this legislation pending in the US, in India, where they're saying that DNA profiling of criminals. I have an instrument with me that can do a DNA fingerprint of a criminal or a suspect by using a swab. A swab taken out, you take a swab, you take a buccal swab, put it in this machine, shut the machine, turn on the machine. 65 minutes later, you have a DNA fingerprint that's compatible with the ABI profiles and stuff like that. So why don't we have legislation, right? I could be selling tons of these machines, but we could also be helping the crime rate in India. So again, solutions like this are right out there. Again, I'll be here for a while. I always make this statement and say, please explore what we have, what we do. Engage with us. We're always here willing to talk. And obviously, let's evolve, kind of together. So that's all we have. If you need anything from GE, I'm a big votary of LinkedIn. Okay? If someone touches base with me on LinkedIn, I connect. And if someone sends a resume to me, it actually doesn't go into this resume black hole. Some people have resume black holes. You receive so many resumes, they go into a black hole. I don't do that. I actually go through them. I read them. If there is an opportunity, I will always have a conversation. I will pass it on not just from inside GE, I will also pass it on to other people in my network who I think will benefit from it. If we take our network seriously, our network will take us seriously. So think about it. And you know what? Last 2 slides, show some pride. Guys, I mean, when I quit my PhD program, my parents asked me, what the hell? Okay? And then, so my basic statement was that, the world needs smart and brainy people, and I think I'm reasonably smart and brainy, so don't worry, there'll be a square meal on my table. Okay, so take some pride. I think you really have earned the rights to be proud. And the last thing, okay, and this is really, really important and bugs the hell out of me when people, I hate cliches and people say, oh, you know what, you need to think outside the box a little bit. No, you know what, don't think outside the box. I mean, guys, every single time I come to NCBS, this box has so much in it. God, why think outside the box? I don't want to think outside the box. Every time I meet Dr. Taslim, every time I meet Dr. Mayer, every time I meet Manoj, I mean, I go back with so much from inside your own box. Okay, so you know what? Let's just hang on for a bit and think inside the box. There's so much stuff happening here. So, and there is no box. Actually, you know what the secret is? There's no box. Okay, but the idea is that, you have so much to gain from where you already are that, just go about it. And again, like I said, we do look for a few values, but trust me, guys, a few you already come with and a few you will imbibe when you join any place. Be extremely confident, and a lot of few people will not ever work for us, okay? But I guarantee you, every single one of you will be addressed as, how are you, sir? How are you, ma'am? By me, because you will all be my customers, okay? You will all be my customers, okay? And so with that humility, thank you very much. Have fun for the rest of the day.